Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to talk about Beavis and Butthead Reboot, Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2. First off, I did not complete last season. I did not finish the episodes. And so I'll have to do that coming up. And it's just really funny because, like, I didn't even know that a new episode would come out last year at a certain point because I looked on IMDb and it didn't show anything new that week. And I just thought, okay, I guess the season's over, I guess. Like, it's really confusing sometimes with this show in particular. And I mean, season 2 is already off to a confusing start in terms of the first episode they have is correct, but then they have the second episode listed as episode 5. And, that was actually episode 2. And so I don't know why they have that like that. And so then they have another episode which hasn't aired yet called Pardon Our Dust Pranks. That's not episode 2. So already, like, they're off to a start where I guess the people who manage the IMDb for the show, they're not really very cognizant of what they're doing. So, and that's not like a huge complaint. It's just a you know a notice, I guess, in case they actually will watch this video. So anyway, I didn't like last season. If after a certain point I started to see certain trends and it just felt really watered down in certain instances. Like, there was this one episode, and it was the last episode I reviewed, and the joke was that you have this mall. They're in a mall full of people, and they never go up to any female in the mall. They only go up to male characters to make fun of them, and it's almost like they had to agree to that if they got their show again, that they would, go really easy on women and, not really make any female-centric jokes. It just in terms of being fair and equal, like, if you're going to make fun of men, make fun of women too, make fun of everybody, like South Park. But they did not do that last season up to the point that I watched. However, I was pleasantly surprised by season 2, episodes 1 and 2. I thought that these episodes were okay. Like, the first episode was pretty good. The second episode had a really, really good first half, and then the second story was kind of meh. I mean, it was okay, but it was basically like a King of the Hill episode with Beavis and Butthead in it, and not like in a good way, and kind of like this should have been a King of the Hill crossover, which is funny because that's starting to happen quite a bit on the show. It's almost like, since they're so watered down, there are going to be episodes that just naturally feel like what watered down Beavis and Butthead, which is King of the Hill. And don't get me wrong, I love King of the Hill. King of the Hill is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. But I'm just speaking truthfully, like, Beavis and Butthead was crude, gross, disgusting, and King of the Hill, it held back a lot more so that it could be kind of like a more mature show. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just when they do it in Beavis and Butthead right now, it kind of feels unnatural. It kind of feels like conflicting tones. So we're getting ahead of ourselves. Meditation Sucks is the first story. I like this this part quite a bit. I thought that it was really hilarious the way that, basically what happens is Beavis and Butthead are able to go to this meditation thing with Mr. whatever his name is. I'm just going to call him Mr. Lesbian because remember, he sang that song Lesbian Seagull. And so I'm just going to call him Mr. Lesbian. So I thought that this was a great story concept, a lot of potential for comedy. And they start off, and I actually thought that it was pretty interesting, the writing for this one, because all the people in the group, they're told to get focused, clear their mind, which is a very big issue with meditation, clearing your mind. There's always going to be stuff on your mind, like there is, every other hour of the day. And all these people, they're just like thinking about things when they're supposed to be, blank slates. They're like, oh, my boyfriend, me. And, they're all thinking these things. And then Beavis and Butthead, ironically, they're the only ones who have blank slates. And they're the only ones with clear heads enough to meditate. And so they're actually able to reach the highest state of meditation. They are in another dimension with fucking Zeus and fucking all of them. Buddha, I think. Like all these religious prophets, and also Bill Gates. And that was pretty funny, because at first I thought, ooh, are they trying to make Bill Gates look good? And then no, they're not. They're definitely not. The only thing that I'd like to point out is that no Muhammad, and that is because like no show or movie can ever make fun of Muhammad, and that's just like an unwritten rule, because they'll get death threats and stuff like that. And we saw that with South Park, which was, in my opinion, one of my favorite episodes, the one where it was about how they write Family Guy, and they showed Muhammad, and it did not end well, unfortunately. So it was really hilarious, because these religious prophets, they hated Beavis and Butthead, and they're like, all we have to do is get them to break their concentration so that they'll fucking leave. And then none of the other people in the group are there with them in the meditation realm. And it's really funny because all of the religious prophets go away, including Bill Gates. And then Beavis and Butthead come back, and there's like a little hint that maybe they were hallucinating, because they said that these bowls were similar to Mr. Lesbian's bowls that he has when they're able to manifest bowls of nachos. And yeah, I thought that this was a really funny story. It was very simple but funny, and a great concept. I would give it a B+. In terms of the music video thing, I'm going to try to remember, because it's tricky with these reviews to remember the specific music videos. Let's see. Well, why don't I just go through every music video right now that I can think of, so we can get them out of the way and not have to worry. So first off, they did one where this guy goes to prison, and they joke about like him putting trophies up his butt. I thought that was a pretty funny music video reaction. I mean, there's not a lot to say about it. And then they did one about finding artifacts, which, I can relate to, since I did that for a couple of months nonstop, every day, all day, pretty much. And yeah, you can zoom out and just look at it like this is all a bunch of trash. This is all a bunch of pieces of crap. And it's pretty funny to watch them make fun of that. And then there's a running joke about all these music videos have to have Jack Harlow in them. And so the first one in prison has Jack Harlow, and then there's another one that they don't even get to watch because the TV buffers and then they can't even watch it the next day. I thought that was great. See, I want to see more stuff like that because I thought that was so creative how it's like, that's so realistic too. Like, I can't tell you guys how many times I've wanted to watch something and then it buffers at home and I just can't watch it that day. Like, even when it comes to doing reviews, if you wonder like why stuff will be late in the day or something, sometimes it's just due to the internet. And then they did one with this, excuse me, they did this one with this Asian girl, and that one was really funny because she just had this, like, disinterested voice, like, and they were actually making fun of her a little bit, and then, of course, Jack Harlow appeared, and so I like that one, too. The last video, I believe, that they reacted to, now I liked all the other ones. There's not much to say because it's just, I like it. It's funny. What else do I say? Like, fucking, let's talk about trick-shotting frisbees, I believe. That was the video topic. So there's this guy in this video, trick-shotting frisbees, and he's showing off, and he's making, like, a video about it, and just being like, look at all these tricks I can do. And it's so bizarre, because Beavis and Butthead start making fun of this guy, and they start saying, like, oh, look, you can tell that kid is homeschooled, as if that's, like, a bad thing, and as if, like, oh, no, that's something to be ashamed of, and so, like, I thought that was really bizarre, because then they start, like, making fun of him and saying, like, oh, because he's homeschooled, he obviously doesn't like girls, and he just does these trick shots all day, and so it was kind of cringeworthy, because, Beavis and Butthead, they don't get any girls either, and they're just sitting around watching TV all day and just doing other stupid shit. They're not fucking better than this trick-shotting frisbee guy. And so I don't know if the joke is that it's ironic that they're making these lame jokes like, oh, he's homeschooled, so that must mean that, his friends come over and they're like, hey, we found some chicks to party with, and he's like, yeah, I got those chicks out of here. I got them out of here real fast. Now I'm going to get back to my trick-shotting frisbees. But it's like, I didn't see, like, why? Like, why did they do that? Like, it didn't make any sense. It felt like they were really reaching with that one. Like, I didn't think that it was obvious that he looked like a kid that was homeschooled. Like, you could say, like, he's in a well-off neighborhood in a well-off house, but to say that, like, oh, he's homeschooled because he knows how to do these tricks, it's like, no. Like, I used to play video games with this kid, and I don't play with him anymore, because he's like a professional gamer type of, he does YouTube, and, we went to high school together, and, I was with him in high school all day. I saw him. We had gym class together. We had fucking lunch together. We had German class together. And then we would go home, and I would see him go on Call of Duty, and he knew how to do all these lame trick shots. And he used to like to show off, and he used to like to do these 1v1s where he'd do these trick shots, and his whole YouTube channel is just trick shot compilation. And guess what, guys? He goes to school. So, you see what I mean? Like, I don't see, like, the correlation, and I thought it was lame. I thought it was really kind of cringeworthy, and weird that the jokes they're making. It's almost like a girl. It's like a teenage girl making these jokes, and then they said at first, like, this guy doesn't have any friends because he's homeschooled. But then they make a joke about him having friends coming over. Like, see, as I said, I didn't like that one. So, Polling Place, this one was another fantastic concept. They're like, why would we want to watch this music video with these strippers if we can just go to a strip club and watch real strippers? And of course, they go to a polling place to vote. And it's really weird too, because it's so funny, because I told Safi before the video that I'm doing a video so that she would not message me. And then what happens? I get a phone call while I'm doing my review from some random number I've never seen before. It's pretty hilarious. So, you see, guys, like, the trend used to be, for my videos, the trend used to be that I would go, I'd burp every video, and I'd be like, damn it. I'd just be like, why did I have to save a burp in the back of my whatever for this video? And now, all of a sudden, in 2023, the new trend is just like an interruption every single video. And I know you're wondering why. Well, because I look at my phone, and then if I see something pop up, I get distracted. And so, that's a funny new trend, I guess. And they go to this voting place, and oh shit. I almost spilled water all over my crotch. They go into this polling place, and there's all this chaos that happens where they're voting in the same booth, and they're sharing the same ballot and all this stuff. And it is pretty hilarious on one end, not even counting the fact that they've mistaken this polling place for a strip club. But on the other end, it's hilarious because the people at this polling place are so pathetic and so trash that they can't figure out, like, what's going on. Like, they can't... Oh, God damn, this person sent me a voicemail. Like, God, what WTF is up with this? Anyways... the people at this polling place, they suck, and so that the fact that, like, they don't even know what's going on, they're like, oh, there's two people voting together in a booth, like, oh, that's totally fine. So I really love that. It was kind of like a double-sided episode where you can look at two different perspectives. I thought that the funniest joke was that at the end of the episode, there was kind of a twist where, there's a real strip club, and it's free entry as long as you show that you voted, and they just walk right by it and say, we're not going to fall for you again. We're too smart for you. We outsmarted you. I thought that was the funniest joke. The one thing that I thought was strange was that they dated this episode, this series. I guess they're just staying in line of, like... See, this is the problem with sitcoms and the problem with the show now. Is because I thought that the show was supposed to be taking place in modern day, but they go into the booth and they vote for a Bush candidate. And I don't know what Bush is running right now, but it was all for a joke, obviously. I think you guys know Bush. And so that immediately dates this episode. But the thing is that if this reboot show goes for like 10 seasons, how is it going to be like... Are they just going to stay in the same time period that the movie took place in? Because that's what it feels like. It's like, oh, this is early 2000s or something. Like, why are they voting for Bush? Like, where I don't know where. So I thought that was like a little error. I don't know if who was responsible for that, but they just dated the whole series. Like, they just completely what's that? Serenity and Tension Ritual Oil. That ad just popped up. So so I would give that one an A-. Actually, I'd watch it again. I thought it was hilarious. Next episode, Old Man Beavis. Already, even without talking about the story, I give this an A+. It is a hilarious episode where they want to buy beer, but they don't have any money to begin with, so they can't buy anything. And so Butthead, he cripples Beavis by hitting him with a cane, and then he spray paints white paint all over his hair and face, and it is just hilarious. He ends up in a nursing home, and there's this horny woman at the nursing home, and he almost scores. And it's like, oh, once again, another attempt. And this was close. Like, this was kind of sad in a way, because it was so close to him sealing the deal, and once again he gets effed up. Butthead bursts into the room, and then her husband comes in and he beats up Beavis. And so I thought that I loved it. I think that this might be one of the top stories of the show so far, of the reboot. I loved it from start to finish. And then lastly, now I know that this might be a little controversial, because but I thought it was okay. I still think it was a little too much like King of the Hill. So they had this story with Mr. Anderson, and I was really excited. He tells like this funny war story where he cares about like taking care of the ship or something, and it's just so like dull, the way that like it's like this boring like war story. You think about Cotton Hill and King of the Hill and all of his amazing war stories, and then you think about this. Like, in contrast, it's like night and day. And so I guess that's the humor in that. I didn't think it was that great. I thought, I hope his next war story is better. And then they have this story called Hunting Trip. And he goes hunting with Beavis and Butthead. And it is exactly like fucking King of the Hill. I could imagine almost everything in this episode happening in a King of the Hill episode. It is pretty hilarious, though. Beavis and Butthead drink deer urine, and they drink this entire bottle. And then Mr. Anderson is going to shoot Beavis, and that was hilarious. I mean, not Beavis. He was going to shoot Butthead, and so I love that. And then it ended, of course, with Mr. Anderson getting fucked up by a deer himself. So all in all, I just thought, it got a little bit too much into, like, Mr. Anderson, he's usually really hilarious on the show, but the story with him was actually kind of sad, and it was kind of like, what if Hank had grown older, and then Bobby left him and, never talked to him again, and he's talking about, like, how his son's not there, so he's going to have a trip with Beavis and Butthead and enjoy it with them. And I just thought, is this really, like, I don't know, like, is this the right time? Like, in terms of character progression, Mr. Anderson really doesn't like these boys a lot. So how did they end up with him in the first place? Number two, this feels like an episode that should happen later on. Like an episode after he's hung out with them a few times. Maybe this should have just been like a whole episode because I felt like the seriousness and tone really contrasted too much with the tone of Beavis and Butthead, where it's just screwball, funny, slapstick humor. But all in all, I give it like a B minus. So overall, I kind of like this season 2 premiere. I mean, I didn't have too much issue, except for that one video where it was really weird with the Frisbee guy. I guess they just couldn't think of what to make fun of, because, what do you make fun of when someone, is a Frisbee trick shot, or like, I don't know, I don't even know, because like I love Frisbee. I used to like to play Frisbee, and in fact, they had a whole gym class where you could join, and they had Frisbee, and I did that on purpose, and it was really fun. And it was the only time I ever liked gym class in school, period. Except I guess maybe in 5th grade a little bit, because in that one, we just did fucking Dance Dance Revolution for the whole year. Like, every day we'd come there, and we'd all line up in a big, long line to play Dance Dance Revolution. And I remember that, like, they really thought, like, Wii Sports and Dance Dance Revolution, they thought that these things were, like, going to revolutionize fitness for children. And so they were really trying to push, like, the use of these games. And so what I did was I bought a new Dance Dance Revolution to play at home. And what ended up happening is that, I was kind of like, this sucks. I was like, I don't like this at all. Like, you need water too fast, and it's just like, it's not fun to like do Dance Dance Revolution unless you're doing it in like a party environment when you're not supposed to be, focusing on fitness and exercise and shit. And then with the Wii Sports thing, I played Wii like a little bit. And I don't think we ever played Wii Sports in gym class. But anyways, I think that my one issue now is this whole time period thing. Like, did they just throw the time period thing out the window? Because I assumed that, this took place around the movie that just came out last year. And that took place in 2022, right? So, I get that they never age, but how is there a Bush candidate? Who's the Bush? Bush's Beans? They could have had a joke, too. They could have had some sort of a joke where accidentally, somehow, a ballot gets into this booth, and it's a ballot from, like, 2004 or something. That would have been pretty funny. They could have made they were acting like it was like a menu where you could order food. They could have said like, ooh, it's a vintage 2004 menu of like 2004 fucking vintage food items, or, chicks. And then they could have been like, I hope that 2004 isn't their birthday. Their birthday year. So you see what I mean? Like, they could have done something with that. But instead, they're just like, oh, we're just going to say Bush because that'll be really funny. You could have just made up your own name that would have, had a different connotation to them. Like, you didn't even have to do Bush. So anyways, please like this video, comment, and I guarantee there's got to be somebody, and they're going to be like, you're just nitpicking your show. And it's like, no, I'm just speaking honestly about the things I liked and didn't like. And then please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more Beavis and Butthead reviews, because I promise you, I am going to review the whole season. Why? Because it's something to do. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.